sons by the tons. He's got them by the tons. In the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 3, it says, and the sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair.
That's actually a wrong quotation. The verses that he's talking about can be found in Genesis chapter 6 and verse 1 and chapter 6 and verse 4.
In the book of Exodus, God says, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. In the book of Jeremiah, it says, Ephraim is my son, even my firstborn. In the book of Psalms, God speaks to David, and he says, I will declare a decree unto thee, that thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee.
That quotation from the book of Psalms is not talking about David, rather it is a prophetic verse about the Messiah, Jesus.
In the New Testament we are told, as many as are led by the Spirit of God are the sons of God. In other words, anybody, everybody, every Tom, Dick and Harry, if you follow the will and plan of God, you are a godly person. In the language of the Jew, you are a son of God.
The term sons by the tons is actually an overestimated exaggeration, because the Bible specifically lists 3 categories of sons of God, 2 of them being plural, sons of God, 1 of them being singular, son of God. In the first category of the biblical sons of God, the Bible is referring to the fallen angels. Genesis chapter 6 verse 1, Genesis chapter 6 verse 4 talks about the Nephilim, taken from the Hebrew nafal, meaning to fall. Job chapter 1 verse 6, Job chapter 2 verse 1, Job chapter 38 verse 3 to verse 7 talks about the former inhabitants of heaven. In the second category of the biblical sons of God, the Bible is referring to God's adopted children, us. The Bible tells us that God has loved us and chosen us before the creation of the world, and God has predestined us for adoption to sonship. Every woman and every man will be granted the equal authority of sonship. In the third category of the biblical sons of God, the Bible refers to Jesus as the only begotten Son. Jesus confirms that he referred to himself as the Son of God. God the Father speaks out from heaven and calls Jesus my beloved Son. So although the Old Testament refers to the sons of God being the former inhabitants of heaven, and although the New Testament refers to us, all of God's children, as God's sons, there is only one Son of God, and that is Jesus.